improvements in some emerging markets, who perhaps got out ahead of their cycles a little earlier and are coming out of their kind of pandemic-related policy faster and are able to see greater support to their economy. So I think that'll be positive. But of course, we do think also that the strength in the U.S. economy is perhaps the biggest contribution we can make to the global economy. That the U.S. continuing to have strong balanced growth is a positive for all of our partners around the world. And our hope is that we see strength in those economies as well as they get further into their recoveries.
Just a follow up on that. I'm Jacob Lauder with Reuters in Washington. What are the reasons that the U.S. won't sort of follow that same path of the UK and Japan into recession? I mean, if we're going to have a sort of a longer period of higher interest rates, is there something more than just the infrastructure investments and the subsidies that government is providing for clean energy that is propping up this economy?
Well, I think, in fact, the U.S. recovery has already taken a very different path. We've already seen that the recession calls that were at least in a Bloomberg headline at 100% in October 2022 over the next year. We just haven't seen that. We've seen consistently below 4% unemployment for 2 years. We saw 3% growth over the last year, and inflation has come down. And if you look at PCE inflation in particular, has actually been at 2% over the last 6 months. So why? There are a whole variety of reasons, no doubt, but some of the contributing reasons we believe is that the Biden administration supported a very strong recovery through policies that enabled people to get back to work earlier, that really helped small businesses. We're seeing just record business creation. And then the investment agenda, the investments in infrastructure, the investments in clean energy, investments in semiconductors, innovation, advanced manufacturing, all of those things are going to continue to provide a strong positive investment environment for the business investment. And because inflation has come down so quickly, we anticipate the environment to be quite benign.
AFP?
Hi, Judy Chabana, AFP. Let's talk about the commercial real estate. 2024 will be a risky year. Are you worried about that? Do you anticipate it could lead to a wave of default from small banks or maybe a consolidation in the sector?
Yeah, so I think we have been tracking commercial real estate over the course of this cycle. And certainly banks have been very attentive to their commercial real estate portfolios over more than the last year. Small banks, regional banks made a lot of changes as a result of the regional banking crisis that we saw a year ago. And so I think there's been a lot of attention to it. Now, within commercial real estate, it's really we're talking about office properties where vacancies are high due to changes in patterns of work and commutes. It's a narrow class within the broader commercial real estate. So one thing I think that's very important, and investors are focused on this, is just that it is a subset of commercial real estate. And so while I think there'll be some stress there, I don't think that it has broader implications for the financial system, at least in terms of what we're able to see.
Thank you. Roberto Simoni, Italian La Stampa. I would like to know just a quick question. First of all, 2 days ago, Biden said there's a lot of work to be done to get inflation lower. And do you think, according to the economic data you mentioned before, that the 2% target will be reached by November presidential election? And second, how the conflict and tension in the Red Sea could impact on prices for some goods for the Americans?
Yeah, so You know, the 2% pre-pandemic benchmark is very important for monetary policy, which is not an arena that I comment on. And so I think depending on what measure of inflation you're looking at, you know, there are a variety of different forecasts out there. But I do expect that inflation will continue to decline and get to its pre-pandemic benchmark. And of course, in PCE, we've already seen that for the past 6 months. In terms of the Red Sea disruptions to shipping, that is leading to many different shipping routes to move around the region. There are alternatives that different ships are able to take. That adds time. It adds a little expense, but it is not the kind of shock that we saw during the pandemic that would lead me to be concerned about a resurgence more broadly in inflation, particularly because the U.S. is less dependent on those shipping routes.
Rich?